Howdy guys, what's up? My name's Sarah, and you're watching me draw Shyvana. It took me 8 hours to do, so I'm excited to post this for you guys. And I'll try to get the Ninetales video up pretty soon. I just figured out how to not make my computer go to sleep, which it took surprisingly long for me. Actually, I was trying to find a way to get it to... It doesn't matter. Here's where I start messing around with poses, and this is the one I end up finally choosing. It's a little bit simpler than the other few that I came up with, and I think it does the job pretty well. She looks pretty serious. Anyway, I like her style, and I like that she is a dragon, because I like dragons. I like that she turns into the dragon, too. That's my favorite part about her. What you see me try to do here is block out the shading and on a separate layer, and now I'm putting in on an even further layer down her coloring. And these are just flat colors that I'm going to put down under the... Alright, I guess I'm going a little bit too fast for myself, sorry about that. What I did was I flattened all of the layers, so they're originally in separate layers, so I can work a little bit better with them, change the color. As you saw, I had a bright yellow, now it's like a kind of orangey color. So I can adjust the colors before I really commit to them. And then I kind of flat the layers with the Control-Shift-E, and so now I can work on shading in real time, I call it, because I'm using the actual colors to shade her, not like a fake overlay like I usually do. And I feel like that's been helping me a lot, especially in these lineless drawings, because the only boundary is color and shading. So it's nice to have full control over that in one layer, not have to switch between layers. And this is when I learned how her headdress actually looks, so if you guys are like flaming before I finish the drawing, first of all, that's hilarious, because I will have not even finished the drawing of this 6-minute video before you guys start complaining. I don't think you will, though. You guys seem to be a lot nicer than the rest of YouTube. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. So right here, I'm just trying to get in the darkest darks and use those for as small areas as possible, because I don't want it to just be like a blackout area, and but I also don't want it to turn into a line either. So I got to be really selective, and you can definitely see remnants of lines, but hopefully by the end of it, you'll realize that I'm trying to stray away from that. So what you see right now is that I'm trying to shade the red. And actually, you can make this a ton easier on yourself just from the first point of using red, where you put in the flat colors, by using a dull red. And that sounds like counterproductive, but in comparison to the rest of the body, it's a very bright red, because she has gray skin, and also because the other color is yellow. And so, by muting that color just a slight bit, I'm given the opportunity to use an even brighter red for areas I want to emphasize. So you'll start to notice that, and it's so helpful because red is such a common color in video games, especially with superheroes too. So fun trick: start with CC0000 instead of FF0000, which is a dull gray versus a red gray, or whoops, sorry, a dull red versus a bright red. So, bright red. It's weird. It's a hard thing to explain without a color palette in front of you. So, next time you have a hex code kind of situation, just remember, those 6 digits can mean a lot. Anyway, you see me try to detail some scales into her, but it just doesn't pan out, so I kind of just decided to scrap it. You see me start trimming things up with the eraser tool and not using white. I do not use white to trim up the edges of her. And you'll see why later, which is primarily because I want to put a background behind her, and I don't want to have to erase white around the edges. So maintaining the transparency of her is a very important thing to me. So here's where I put in the background. As you see, I only have one area where I had to use white, or forgot about the eraser tool, which is with the Wacom tablet. Really, it's so easy to use the Wacom tablet pen, because this side, if you can see that, that's my stylus side, This is an Alt-click button. It has two sides to it, top and bottom. And then this is the eraser, so I can just flip it over and draw with this and maintain that transparency in order to, keep from having to erase later. So here's where I put in the background. I kind of make it like a hell kind of background, like, oh, she's a badass. Being a dragon in hell, it's a volcano. Sorry, anyway, I'll never do that again. So you see me kind of just tone her up a little bit, add in that bright red. And it is a little bit of a pink, but you really can't tell because you can totally tell. It's definitely a pink, never mind. I'm gonna unsay that. So anyway, here's where I put the detail on the head, the dragon arm head. Yeah. And also, you might have noticed that I had a gradient layer on her feet. That's because I want, from the head to the toes, it gets more detailed at the head, just in general in art, usually. And then it gets less detailed at the feet. And so in order to emphasize the upper part of the body, I have to use a brighter color. So it's easier for me to dull down the bottom part and kind of blend it into the ground so she doesn't float off the screen, and she does blend into her environment a little bit better. So fun trick. And I used the gray from the rocks to do that, not like a regular gray or not like a generic gray that I picked. Here's where I blur out some of the background to give it just some more depth, to really push those items back in space. Here's where I add some glow to her and the environment around her using screen techniques and Gaussian blur. And then I add some extra highlights in the edge to really define the edges. So I hope you guys like this, and have a nice day.